The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
There we go, Jill. They let me back in this Tuesday.
That's right. Welcome back. Now, Mike, he was out sick last week.
I was, and I am back. It's Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. I'm Mike McLean.
And I'm Jill McDowell. So welcome to the Mike and Jill Show. It is a rainy day, Mike. You didn't, right?
46 degrees, rain. Are you happy about it? I'm not.
Not really. Not really. So we have several guests today, and we'll go around the room. This is exciting. But I think we wanted to first talk about what happened that rocked everybody's world today.
Oh my God. So I don't know about you guys, right? But about 2 or 3 hours ago, I was sitting in an office meeting and I looked at my phone. I'm like, why is my Facebook not working? Why is my Instagram not working? And that totally put me into a frenzy of what is going on? Are we getting cyber attacked right now? Is it just an issue? Is it going to be resolved? Is it just temporary? What is happening? I got nervous.
And we're going to go around the room. All right. So we have a guest today, Jessica Taggart.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. So today when I saw that, I'm freaking out. I think I lost my signal. You know, I turned off my Wi-Fi a couple times and I'm like, oh my God, something's going. And then I texted Tom and I'm like, do you see this? And he's like, yes, I think something is up. And I'm like, okay. So I was just trying to reload. And I'm like, what if this never gets fixed? You know, how am I going to get into my, my little world?
Right.
You get lost, right?
Yes,
we all
you get lost.
Totally.
And Tom, since she spoke about you, Tom's here.
Yeah, and so it's a similar experience. I did see it originally on CNBC that it was down, and when Jessica texted me, I tried to get into our accounts, and Instagram was working. Facebook just kept logging me out as I logged back in, and we have a blog post going up later today, so I was a little terrified.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and Ashley's here, Ashley McDowell.
Now, Ashley is the younger group here. She's on the younger side.
She brings a different, fresh perspective.
How did you feel about that?
I kind of liked it, not gonna lie. You know, you don't really know what life is like without it. I mean, I don't. You know, I grew up with it, but
oh my God, isn't that crazy?
I think I kind of like it. I like the silence. I like the peace. You know, I didn't have to worry about what post was going up or anything like that. So it was kind of calming. I just put my phone down and went and made breakfast.
So it was like a welcoming break.
Kind of, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, what hours were it down? Was it down for?
I think it was around 12 to 2, guys. Am I right?
I don't think it was consistent across everybody's experience. You know, that time I think was around noon when I was down. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how long it lasted. When I went back, we were up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, see, I was meditating and exercising then, so I didn't know. I actually am trying to step away from social media. So because it's so tough.
You know what? One thing that I want to just say before we get into all this, I loved what you and I talked about 2 weeks ago. We didn't even talk about it. I sent you a text, and then you text me the next morning. You were like, "I'm sorry. I'm trying to limit my phone in the evening." I love that you did that for yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's annoying. First of all, we're for our business,
Sure.
Our phone is constantly going off. So I try to put it down, put it away, so I don't even see it. So you can really if you're watching something, you can really immerse yourself in what you're watching and being present with whomever you're with, that you're really there. You're not halfway on your phone. It doesn't doesn't work all the time, I should say, because sometimes I am on my phone too much and I don't like it. But
you're aware of it.
I'm trying to deliberately put it down and step away. And it's harder than you think.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go into what our show is today, right, Mike? So
a lot of what we're chatting about already.
Yeah, exactly. So we did, it is Women's History Month, March is. And when we started the show a few months ago, we really wanted to talk about Long Islanders and how incredible everyone is, and everyone has their own story and their own gifts and their own purpose, and life is about finding that purpose and using the purpose. So which brings us to our guest today, which is one of our guests today.
We got a whole bunch of people in the studio today,
which is Jessica Taggart, and Jessica runs workshops for healings, somatic activated healings, yoga, restorative yoga. And I think it is something that is so needed right now because people aren't aware of their emotions, I would say so much, or how we got to where we are in life, right? How we got here, our traumas from our past and how they have affected where we are mentally, physically, spiritually in this life, right? And tell us what you do, Jessica.
Okay, so what I do is, like you said, is somatic activated healing, and what it is basically the art of being in your body, right? How do you learn to be in your body? How do you learn to be in the present moment and don't get hung up on the past and your limitations from the past? How do you learn to deal with those emotions right now, right here, in the present moment? And a lot of us don't practice that, and we have forgotten how to be in the present moment. That's what we do. We live in the past most of the time. We live caught up in our trauma or our stories, right? We are caught up on the labels we adopted, with our life. And we just don't live in the present moment. Or we're too anxious about the future, and we're just like never here. I just made a commitment to myself to be wherever I am 100%, and it's tough. It is tough,
Well, because I think also when we're living, we hear this, we have a recording, right, in our brains, right? And it keeps replaying the same thing over and over again from our day yesterday or a month ago or a year ago. And it can be anything. Mostly I feel like it's the negative things, right, that affect us. And we just keep hearing that same old record playing, like either it's you're not enough, you're not worthy, or you'll never get to where you want to be, and it's crippling.
Oh my God, it's terrible, and I am an immigrant from Peru, right? So coming to another country, not knowing the language was a limitation to start with, right? So I was like, how am I going to make it here? But I had big dreams, and I was like, I'm going to have to find a way to do it. But at the same time, I was sabotaging myself with my limitations, right? So I was going one step forward and two backwards, right? All the time.
What were your limitations?
Well, the fact that, when I grew up, I always listened to this, somebody or a lot of people telling me, you can't say nothing. You're not allowed to talk about those things. You lose your voice. You lose your identity, because for some reason my mom made me look like a boy for a lot of periods of my childhood, because she was trying to protect me from, being, assaulted or whatever happened. So I grew up as being a boy for a long period of time. So when I was like a teenager, I was like, I want to be a girl. I have boobies, I want the boys to see me, and nobody would see me because I looked like a boy. So I lost my identity. I lost my voice, and I lost who I was. So I'm like, when I grew up to be a woman, I became a woman, and I'm like, I really need to bring that little girl back with me and tell her that she's okay. That we are girls. We have the power to get our voice back, and we have the power to bring our identity back. And this is so like huge to me. I'm like, I'm going to do this for everybody I cross, my path with.
So it's interesting because Jill was saying something before about how we can get so negative in our minds, right? We can wake up and say, "Oh, I'm not good enough. I don't feel good. I'm never going to get that listing if you're a real estate agent. Or I'm never going to be able to succeed." We don't do the opposite, or if we do, then it's called the ego, right?
Yeah.
Or, I look so exceptionally good today. I mean, look at my eyes. My face is flawless, Jill. Look at me.
But why is that selfish, right? Let's break that down.
I'm not saying that it's selfish, but I think to Jessica's point, when you're in a moment and when you are centered and when you are confident and when you're not living in the future or in the past and you're centered, I don't think there is anything to question then.
Exactly.
But my question is this. There's that little boy inside of us. There's the little girl inside of you. We all have trauma of some sort. Yeah. And we all have something that had devastated us to be where we are, to how we are conditioned today. How do we go back to that little boy that was hurt?
Well, it is important to recognize.
Or how did you go back to that little girl?
Well, what happened to me was like a miracle, I think, right? Because I was looking for ways to rescue this little girl out of, I don't know what. In my mind, I had to rescue her for something. I didn't know what. So last year, I started going into different like healing retreats. I went to Colombia, worked with shamans, did like all the shamanic practices and everything. So I did like psychedelics, right? So I went into a different conscious
Wait,
you know,
talk to me about the psychedelics.
Oh my God. It was so revealing, because my mind, your mind protects you from trauma, right? When you go through a very hard experience, your mind shuts it down to protect you.
Locks it away.
Right? So when I did that, my conscious opened. All of the stuff that was in my subconscious mind came to the conscious mind. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to die. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. But I was like, okay, I got the answers.
Was it overwhelming to feel?
It was very overwhelming because the people who were supposed to protect me were the ones who weren't protecting me, And then I learned that was the reason why my mom treated me like a little boy, because she didn't want me to be hurt, And then I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep and I didn't know why. And I never knew the reason why, but I knew there was something, right? But this came to light and I'm like, okay, so at least I have the answer. I can work on this, right? So I went back and I said, you're safe now with me. Because
almost like your higher self.
Yes,
wow,
exactly.
how comforting to be able to say that to yourself.
Of course.
I mean, that's strong and powerful.
Of course, because this little girl dreamed of becoming me. Or should I say this little boy? This little boy was dreaming of becoming me, And I'm like, okay, let's put some makeup on. Let's let my hair grow, and let me be a girl and just take you with me, So I went back to that, and I, I'm still going to therapy and stuff, and with my therapist, we're going back to visit this little girl, and tell her you're safe, you're fine. And this is a job that I have to do every day, So.
That's a lot. You're getting upset because that's a lot. And I think, what's interesting, I think we all have, for most of the blocks, we all have childhood traumas in our life. And whatever that may look like, or whatever belief we were told, shown by the people we love. And I don't know that they thought they were sharing those beliefs or instilling those beliefs onto us. But in the process, that's what we took away. And it changed our thoughts and our lives. And you do have to, I think, go back to that place where you're like questioning your beliefs and where do they come from?
Yeah.
Why do I believe what I believe? And it could be a little thing of people maybe who are, doubt themselves or even something like, maybe overeating or something like that, where you're like, why do I not feel enough? Where was it in my history, in my past, that I was told or shown or silenced where, that's what I got from it. It was like, okay, my words don't matter. I don't matter. Or whatever it might be. I think that's so powerful because those beliefs start most of them subconsciously, I think, start to change our lives.
Isn't it crazy though? We, excuse me.
You have verklempt.
I am verklempt. Yeah. But, we are conditioned, programmed in a certain way, right? And here we are all this time later. And to your point, the blockages that we put against us, is it justification? Are we justifying something and just not dealing with it? And then the question again becomes, how do you get to the root of it? And I think by your answer is, it's a work in progress for all of us.
It's a lifelong process, and identifying that the place where everything comes from, you get to rewrite the story in a way.
I love that. Like, I love how you said that. You get to rewrite it.
Yeah, you get to rewrite it because you're conscious now. You're not living in your subconscious mind anymore. And one of the things I teach the girls I work with, I'm like, you have all these beliefs, right? But it's up to you now. You're a conscious person. You're going to see these little beliefs as being the apps on your phone. And you're going to go and shake it. And if you don't like it, just let it go.
And delete it.
Or if you don't if you kind of, you're sold on it, you just want to write a different story, you can do that too. Nobody's telling you not to, right? So you have to take ownership of those limitations and be like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not those labels anymore, and I'm like, and my mother wasn't a witch like I thought, she was going through her own pains, right. She was a traumatized little girl too at one point, and she talked to me about those things when I told her about what happened, and I'm like, oh my God, everything makes sense. Everything makes sense when you open your mouth,
Well, so can I say I was thinking of what you just said, and I was reading something that said our parents or, the people in our lives who mean so much, they only could do as best as they could at the time, right? That they didn't know any better, or something in their past, however it created their lives.
You only know what you know.
Right.
You have the tools to work with at any given moment that you have.
Right.
And it's like they say, if you're a carpenter, everything looks like a nail if all you have is a hammer.
Right.
It's that principle.
Right.
We're all brought up with limited people, so to speak, and because we're all limited.
Right.
And
we
and so
weren't
it's
meant to
not.
be perfect in this lifetime.
Do you remember that, Ashley? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, I want people like her, because I have children too, right? I want them to know that they were made perfect, and I brought my own pain to my family, and I made that part of their growing, and I just feel so bad that I did that to them,
Did you consciously do it though?
No, but I have spoken to them about, I brought this to my family. I brought my limitations, but now I'm conscious and I want to change it, and I'm still on time to liberate myself. And they are still on time to liberate themselves from the chain of this generational trauma, because this is the end to me. For me, this is the end.
What's your relationship with your mom like now?
Oh, we love each other.
So you forgive her, or maybe you didn't have to forgive her, you understood her.
I understood her. There was nothing for me to forgive. I'm no one to judge her. I never judged her, but I was like mad at her.
Sure.
Right? But I was like, why didn't you just, let me sing? Why didn't you just let me be a girl? Why didn't you put like little skirts on me? Like, right?
But had you gone back to that time, she did what she thought she had to do.
Yeah. Right. And she's still like battling with that, because she's like, no, I just like the menudos. And the menudos was where like
I love
and
menudo.
I wanted you to look like a menudo. And I'm like, I was a girl, mom. I didn't want to look like a menudo.
Right.
And you guys might not be able to see her, but she is a gorgeous lady.
Oh my God.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you. I'm just starting. I swear, it's so hard for me. And he's always telling me, you're so gorgeous. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. I have to take it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to accept it, but it takes a lot of time, because I never saw myself as being that.
I don't think
Well,
a
you
lot.
are.
Yeah, I
Thank
don't think.
you.
I think most people have a hard time at saying thank you to that comment. I think a lot of because you just you see when you look in the mirror often all the flaws.
Yeah, because that very same reason you mentioned earlier, right? Like you just don't feel worthy. I mean, not. I know this is Women's Month right now, but I have struggled with self-image my entire life. Mm-hmm. It was the root of every bad decision I ever made. Mm-hmm. The outcomes of my marriage, everything I ever did, every job I ever took, everyone I ever left was because of that.
Right.
And, you just don't, in the end of the day, it's so hard on a core level to say I can do this. Even still, like I have to come in from over the top to tell myself I can do stuff. It doesn't come in from inside. I have to just kind of like mind attack myself.
But isn't
You
that
have to
crazy? I want
override it.
to talk to Tom for a minute. Like, you're a good-looking guy. I'm better looking, but like, but the whole point though is that we're good-looking guys, right? We shouldn't be looking into a mirror and saying, "Oh, look, there's the self-doubt, or there's the fear, there's the ego, there's the he's not strong enough." But isn't it crazy that we do that to
I just
ourselves?
don't. I think
and
you look
women too,
right
of course.
past your physicality and into the emotional mess that you are. I assume everyone does. And so, I wanted to jump back on something you said earlier. You had asked Jessica, how do you fix that? And one of the things we both learned recently is called the quantum meditation. And you're able to go back and kind of rewrite the context of events in your past, and so. For similar reasons. I mean, I love my mother to death. I spent a lot of my life upset with her, for reasons. And then I realized as a parent that she had 7 children, limited income. My dad was a police officer and did other jobs on the side. And so he wasn't really home in a regular cycle. And my mother did laundry and made meals all day long, every day. For my youngest sibling is 8 years younger than I, and my oldest is 10 years older than I. So for the better part of 20 years, my mother was grinding it out with very little monetary resources. And I realized how exhausted and hopeless she must have felt at times, and just terrible. And, we had a conversation in the last couple of years after I realized that, where I just said, thank you,
That's powerful right there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mom.
Well, because again, you don't, until you get older, I think you don't see where people were. You don't see what led them to make the decisions that they made. And we're not talking about the horrible things that people do. We're talking about the everyday, living, right? You do the best with what you have, and you make the best decisions that you can, and to give each other some grace.
And there was zero glory to that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike. There was zero glory to that in the 70s, right?
Sure.
Like the majority of women were still housewives in most cases, and it was a 365-day year, still is for even working moms now. 20-hour days, no sick days. I mean, when did you ever, I never saw my mother sick as a kid.
I think a lot of that is a thank you to Mom for all the good that you have given to me too, and
100%.
appreciation,
No,
and thank you for all the life lessons. And I think we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to have a stronger, in-depth talk about this, because this is a great conversation. Really, it's a great table to be at too right now. So we'll hear from Ashley when we come back.
Stick around.
451-1039. If you want to give us a call, we're happy to chat.
And welcome back, everybody. You are listening to the Mike and Jill Show on 103.9 FM. Thank you so much for joining us in what is turning out to be a group therapy session, really.
It really is.
We have multiple guests here, Jessica, Ashley, and Tom. And we'll go into, we've been discussing, I feel like your purpose in life and how we're all kind of damaged goods, and we're trying to figure out why.
But good damaged goods. Damaged goods.
There's no judgment. No, but just why we do what we do is really, and how do we live, and why we live the way we live. So we're going to get into that, but first we're going to do another little question of the day. It's fun. If you had a superpower, what would it be and why? We're going to start with Ashley. Ashley's here. And full disclosure, everybody, Ashley's my daughter. She's at home on college break. She goes to the University of Georgia, which we know was in the news, and she needs to come home for a little while to kind of but
recharge,
Ashley,
yeah.
So go ahead.
Superpower, I would choose to fly. I love to travel. I've always wanted to hit every country in the world, and that would save me a lot of money on plane tickets. So, yeah.
That's cool. All right, cool. Tom.
I would manipulate time. I would be able to go back in time, so I could.
You totally stole my answer.
You should never let the guest go first. You should never let the guest go first.
Maybe we can, though. That's a whole nother level, right?
He wants to go back. I want to go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, we can meet in the middle.
Is that what you would do? What would your superpower? Time travel like?
Time travel. I mean, in reality, I wanted to go back in time, because we were talking so much about what it was like then and the blockages and blah blah blah. But now in reality, I'll let that shit go. You know what? Let me see what it looks like.
Well, figure out what it is, though, right, Mike?
Right, of course.
Figure out what it is in the past, because I think you have to burst through the block in order to fully process it and get beyond it.
Agreed, but we're just having fun right now. So all I'm saying is that I would let that go, and then let me go see what's in front of me now. What is it going to look like? What is that going to look like?
Cool. I love
in a good,
that.
fun way.
I actually love that. We were listening to a podcast on the way upstate, and somebody actually talked about that. How about we live in the perfect future we're creating instead of living in the poor past we already fucked up?
Well, that's manifesting.
I'm sorry. So sorry.
Okay. No.
It's a family show, Jessica. But that's manifesting, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if we let the past in the past, right? We learn what we need to learn. Okay. We made peace with that, and let's just leave it in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And then we are going to make this perfect moment, this perfect present, just perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And think about the amazing future that's waiting for us. Oh my God. If you leave your present thinking how amazing your future already is, right? How different would our life be, right? Instead of being anxious and being like, what is going to happen,
So what's your superpower?
My superpower would be to be able to be a healer. I mean, I consider myself a healer because I'm healing as I, become a vessel to help the power of God heal other people through me. But I want to be a healer that can touch everyone in the world. Heal every single heart So there's no evil left.
I love that.
Wouldn't that be amazing? The world would be such a peaceful place.
Yeah.
Jill, what about you?
Ooh, I would, if I had a superpower, I think I would be invisible. I would just be able to be invisible somewhere and just step back and see how things are. Like that fly on the wall, you know? I think I would do that and just kind of like put the cloak on and just sometimes just go be invisible for a little while. You know? I don't know. It's like a Harry Potter, you know, when they put on the cloak,
I get it.
You're
It's
still
deep.
there. It's kind of like sounds morbid when I say it, but like no, I love my life and I love living. But I'm just saying I would love to just kind of step back a little bit and see the world how it's moving, almost. You know.
No, it's deep. I like that.
I'm deep, Mike.
You are.
I am. Yeah.
So there's a quote, not a quote, but there was something that Jessica, that you spoke about here. In my journey to self-love, I realized that the time to reclaim my voice, my identity, and my power has come. I am no longer invincible, right? My voice matters, and I matter.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep, and I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, it is time for all of us to know that, you know, and I feel it's not just my story, it's everybody's story. You know, our voice matter, our power matter. We all have the power, you know, and even to heal, you know, when I talk about healing and when I talk about this with the people I work with, I'm like, we all have the same power. We just forgotten, you know, that the power is there. Our body was made to regenerate. Our body was made to heal itself, you know, and we all have the power. It's just that we forgot, you know, we just let ourselves live the daily life like we're navigating through, I don't know why, but, you know, we're not leaving. Yeah. We're not. And I'm like, I made the commitment to be alive every single day. You know, that's all I'm going to do from now until my last day, you know?
Well, maybe that's the purpose. You made me just think of that. Maybe that's the purpose of life once we get here is to reawaken to who we are truly.
But I think in some form or aspect, we're doing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to experience these emotions, you know, grows your soul, you know? And so sometimes we get hung up on pain or frustration or our mistakes, and we don't realize this is part of our journey. This is part of our growing. I'm like, I went through this painful situation because this was part of my growing, right? I have something to teach. I have something I can use to inspire other people who are going through the same experiences, right? So I don't take it as, for me, you know, the devil came and visited me, you know, no, thank you for visiting me. I needed that. You know, I needed that wake-up call. Now I know why you came and visited me. Now I know what to do with this shitty, you know, situation, because I'm going to go up and fix it, you know, and make it an inspiration so somebody else can learn from this, you know?
You know, it's so interesting is everyone kind of sitting there looking, because I feel like how we all grew up and our parents, you know, we were children in the 70s, or not you, Ashley, but, you know, we watched our parents and oftentimes men in that time frame, and that it was then passed on. Men didn't talk about emotions, right? You weren't told to show emotions.
You're told not to, actually. I think.
Right. You'd be a man, right? Don't do that.
I don't recall if we were talking about this off air or not, but one of the things, you know, we were talking about before was like, you know, the identity and how culture shapes you and all this other kind of stuff. And I think it's much harder on men in terms of what we're allowed to express. Mike, would you
agree? 100%.
And what we should show. We're not supposed to show that we ever lack confidence. We're not to show that we have any kind of sensitivity, any kind of fear. And you're really robbing the people in your immediate surrounding of that humanity that they need to understand is okay for them. You know, and so then, you know, that's a lot of how inadequacy is informed in the household, right? You look at your father. Our father was a strong guy. I mean, he had an emotional side, but he was a strong guy. And so, you know, a child interprets that as, I'm not supposed to be this, I'm supposed to be that. Right. And so there's your first, you know, dice thrown across the table is you're not making the grade. Whether you're actually told that by your father, and some people are actually, sadly. But then you start taking that away with you already. Like, well, I want to be like that.
Don't cry. I mean, I think that's a message many guys learn growing up. Is don't cry. As girls cry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also being robbed of the authenticity of who we really are. Sure. You know, and
like you have emotions. What do you mean don't cry? Like,
well,
it's
that
just
all
so sick. It's such
or those cliches, or if that's what it's called, of children should be seen and not heard. Why can't children be engaged?
Yeah.
Why are we?
I actually enjoyed that one when my kids were little.
Well, we are robbed of our identity early on, right? When they tell you shush, don't cry, and you had to hide that feeling so you could be held.
Right.
How crazy is that, right? You need to stop crying so I can hold you. That's so messed up, and we lose that connection from the beginning of the times, right?
Because who's going to hold you?
Yeah, who's gonna hold you? Just be somebody else. Be somebody else.
Well,
so you can get home, So we lost our identity very early, and that's why I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going back. So, but one thing I love Ashley to share with us, because I have two boys, right? One is 22, and one is 17. And I feel like sometimes I just want to be inside of them and see my life through their eyes, and be like, my mom is freaking crazy or whatever. I don't know what they think. But, I really did put them through a lot, right? With my own limitations, because I brought pain into my household. That was my pattern. Victimization was my pattern.
Oh, that's big, though,
right?
Jessica,
That's
women,
huge.
and then-
That's huge. So they saw this all these years, right? And now it came the time when I'm breaking the pattern, and they're like, what the heck is going on, right? They see a change, but I don't know what they're thinking. I would like to hear a young perspective,
Yeah, I just recently grew up, I would say. I'm 21, I'm still growing up, but you'll always see your parents as the person that you need to be, like your role model, right. And they can do no wrong until they suddenly, like, everything that they do is wrong. And then you blame them for everything. And you blame them for all your insecurities and all your, like, traumas. But at the end of the day, like, you just have to, I only recently, saw this, but you just have to accept that they're actually going through their own stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're actually people. Like, you just, honestly, until you're, like, 16, 17, they're just somebody that tells you what to do and gives you money. And, you just have to listen. Love you, Mom.
But you said that to me. You said that.
Yeah, I said that.
You said recently, like, I'm just at the age where I see you. You're just
for who you are.
For who you are. You're just a human being doing your best, trying your best.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's weird. Yeah, but same with. You're also, you and Dad are quite emotional parents, so I'm grateful for that. I always every night it was, and I love you, but it's sometimes it's like too much. And sometimes it's not enough. So there's always a balance. The grass is always greener. But I wouldn't have, done it any other way.
You know what I love about that, Ashley? I love your mother, you know that. But every time I'm on the phone with her, without fail, she'll have always mentioned a child of hers. Yeah. And I know by listening to what you're saying that her and your father have launched you guys the way that you are. And what you just spoke was so beautiful. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
And honestly, at first, when I was growing up, I thought it was a flaw that you focus so much on family. I was like, Mom,
that's
like,
a gift.
Go do your job, go live life, go on vacation with Dad, And now I'm like, that's what you wanted. That's like, actually, you didn't,
It's true.
Right? That's what you wanted to do with your life. Will I do the same? I don't know. Maybe I'll travel to, like, Egypt or something first, But, like, that's what your purpose was at the time.
Well, it's so interesting that you said that, because it's like, so here's my feeling on that. However you grow up, you can, and I think I've said this before, you can either choose to be like your parents, take their route, or you can choose to be nothing like your parents and say, like, I see the damage, I see that, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And I think that's a very powerful, like, either I like, or take a little bit of each. Like, I like that. Yeah. I don't, that's messed up. Well, why are they like that? Or, and then you realize, wait a minute, I can change.
Yeah.
I can grow. I can do something else.
We have to. It starts with talking, though. We've only recently, in the past few years, have had conversations where I'm like, oh, my mom, like, actually went to high school, and she actually, like, went to college, and she actually had boyfriends.
She did some wild stuff too, and she had fun.
She was
learned.
A girl. She had friends. She, like, went to elementary school.
Right. It's so funny, but it's so true, because teenagers, they're
just they're in their own world.
Yeah,
and that's all up here. Else. That's so much. Our whole world is in our heads.
Yeah.
It is a
I mean, but as a
whole world.
teenager, I mean, you're highly stimulated by both hormones
yeah.
and the environmental overload of that life experience that's now rushing in around you with that little bit of independence that
And
you've
social
gained
media.
and yearn. You yearn even more, right? And so
freedom.
part of the rebellion is that, like Mike, you mentioned before, like maybe you just do the other thing. Yeah, you do the other thing because like that need for freedom is baked into you, right? Is as part of your growth. And so I just think as a teen, you're just completely shell-shocked by stimulation from internally and externally. And so it's a lot for a little creature.
Yeah.
That's when you just start becoming, as a teenager, you just start to figure out who you are. You know?
Yeah.
And what you want in life.
I love
and then
that.
You keep going. Your whole life, you keep
Figure out
going.
you don't know what you want.
Right? And you keep changing and saying, like, I feel like, I'm 52 and I'm like, okay, what is the next phase of my life? Where am I going? What am I doing? Let's keep going. Let's grow. Let's change. Let's morph. Mm-hmm. Why not? Right?
Yeah, and you're always waiting for the next stage of your life, Like I always told, college was going to be the best time of my life, and now people are telling me, "Oh no, just wait until your 20s. That was going to be great."
Live where you are would be my advice to that.
And then you get married, and then you have kids, and like they're going to be newborns, and that's going to suck. But then they're just going to morph into beautiful people, and then you're going to retire and travel, and that's going to be the best too.
But then you're living almost like,
You're in the future.
You're living in the future, that this next great thing is down the road, when we need to live in the present and make today the best.
It's funny. To the right of me, I'm looking at Tom, and I see that he's got his camera to take photos, right? And then I'm listening to you guys, Jill and her daughter Ashley, in front of me, and you guys are talking about, when's that next big moment, that milestone, or when's that going to develop, right? And then I look to Jessica, who's to the left of me, whose teachings are almost perfect. And what I mean by that is because that camera right there takes a photo, and it's sort of like a blink in your eye. Mm-hmm. And every time you blink, there's a new picture that we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's a new development, right? That each and every one of those blinks are completely new. It's a new experience. It's a new thought. It's a new feeling. It's a new everything, right? Yeah. So maybe there's our growth. Every time we blink, we're looking at something completely different.
I like that.
Yeah.
The moment of now, right?
The moment of now.
That's going to be a whole new podcast.
Oh my God, yeah. Can you imagine if we get to live every present moment as like perfect as it is, right? How our yesterdays would look tomorrow, right? Right?
Well, we do want to
think about it, right?
Yeah, no, that's powerful. Well, we do want to talk about a podcast, right? These two, Jessica and Tom, have a podcast on the run.
We do.
And just quickly tell us quick about it.
Okay, so, I love that Tom really gets very deep. Since we started talking, we started going deep to the vein, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I love talking to him. We can go deep. We can go into my little zone, the past and the present. Talk about the past, but bring in just the best, right? What we learn, and be like, okay, we're not gonna do that. We just learn from that, and then we're gonna move on, And I feel like we're on the process of learning how to let go. One of the quotes that I love from one of the things we're doing says the power of in the physical world is measured by how much you can lift up, and the power in the spiritual world is measured by how much you can let go.
Ooh, I like
how
that.
deep is that, right? So I'm like, I need to let go of this baggage, I need to let go, and I'm letting go as I go. Right? I'm letting go of these things that don't serve me anymore. I'm letting go of these people that don't really add anything to my life anymore. I'm letting go of my old customs, my old thoughts, my old beliefs, and all this negative pile of, that lives in my head because it doesn't serve me anymore.
I love that.
Right?
Jessica, there's so much that you do, and I know that if we had another 2 hours, we could spend so much time talking about it. But there's sound therapy, right?
Oh my God,
Chakra
yes.
cleanses,
Yes.
restorative yoga, the movement therapy. There's a whole lot. And I know we're not wrapping up because we still have another 2 or 3 minutes or so, but yet you have to check out her website. You really do.
Thank you.
If you want to have a one-on-one and to have a conversation with her, absolutely give her a call, 631-579-8123. She is a beautiful woman to look at. She is a beautiful woman to have learned from and to sat with for the last hour or so. And so for me, I had said to Jill just recently, you know, Jill, I'm just looking for that one show where we can walk away, or I can walk away feeling like that was it. And you know, I've said that to you.
Yeah.
And this was the show for me.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, and she's
Thank you so
she's the
much.
founder of
Thank
the
you.
Art of Healing and Embodiment, and she holds workshops for women who need healing from different traumatic events, and also their podcast, On the Run with Jess and Tom, or something like that, on Spotify. And that really gets into, you guys kind of, it's almost like a book club online, like a spiritual book club where you discuss quickly. We have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, real quick.
Go ahead.
So what, you know, we're huge personal development freaks. You know, we're just all about, you know, a lot of what we've spoken about here today. And so what we've been, you know, from the time, as Jessica mentioned, from the time we first met, she was somebody I knew I wanted to be in business with in some size, shape, or form, because she's an absolute tornado of energy and action. You know, she doesn't, when she speaks, it's in action before you're even, someone like me is even ready to get on board with that. But so on the road with Jess and Tom, you know, we started to have conversations like this on the regular basis, like we're having with you folks today. And so we said, you know, we should start recording these. And so it's really about just reaching out to a lot of the kind of people that we discuss here today, which all of us are, I believe, with the little boy or the little girl inside that, you know, you want to go back and talk to. And so we've been listening to some, you know, Jordan Peterson. We just did his 12 Rules of Life. That's a little old, but we just went and did that. We did Raphael McManus's Mind Shift, which was another really fantastic work. And we've got a few more coming. But so that's really the focus of our podcast, and to, you know, just to kind of support that growth and learning. And, you know, at some point, I think you'll see some books coming out of us, and then we'll get out there and start talking about them.
Awesome.
For right now, the podcast is our platform.
And I think that when Tom and Jessica walked in, they had mentioned that we might be guests on their podcast.
That would be fantastic.
Yes,
I thought I heard
love-
that. I thought I heard
You know,
that.
I would
We'll hold them
love
to
part
it.
2 of this conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we can go so deep. I can tell.
Yeah.
I can really tell.
I
And
would
I'll
love
be
that.
so
That could be a
happy
great
to
idea.
have you guys.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. All right, 27 seconds left. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you,
Ashley,
guys.
for coming.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank
Thank you so much for
and-
having us, guys. It was great.
All right, the Mike and Jill Show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on 103.9 FM. Mike, take it out.
Jill, baby, have a great day. Hopefully that sun comes up and that rain goes away.
Bye, guys.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.